Hello, welcome to our classes. I am Dr. K.K. Misra. This video tutorial is on descriptive questions and answers on managerial economics. Paper code here is KMBN 102. This is as per changed or new syllabus of managerial economics, a subject which is taught in MBA semester first as per AKTU. यहाँ पर हम 5 क्वेश्चंस इस वीडियो ट्यूटोरियल में कवर करेंगे और हमको पूरे अच्छे तरीके से समझाने की कोशिश करेंगे कि हर एक क्वेश्चंस में कैसे टू द पॉइंट लिखा जाए। कुछ क्वेश्चंस आपको यहाँ बड़े लग सकते हैं जिसमें कि हमने टॉपिक वाइज कवर करने की कोशिश किया है। उसमें और भी आपको मैटर मिल सकते हैं, हो सकता है उसमें से कुछ और क्वेश्चंस निकलें। तो अगर आप वो पूरा कंटेंट पढ़ते हैं तो एक क्वेश्चन में काफ़ी आपको मैटर इतना मिल जाएगा कि आप अगर समझ पाएंगे और समझ लेंगे भी तो आप अपने आप एग्ज़ाम में उसके आंसर अच्छे तरीके से लिख सकते हैं। अब हम क्वेश्चंस पर आते हैं एंड दिस इज़ अ सीरीज ऑफ वीडियो ट्यूटोरियल्स। हियर आई वुड बी कवरिंग, लेट मी टेल यू, अराउंड अबाउट 40 to 45 क्वेश्चंस। कंप्लीट सिलेबस इस सीरीज में मिलेगा डिफरेंट पार्ट्स में। सो यहाँ पर हम क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 to क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 कवर करेंगे। नाउ कम टू द क्वेश्चंस। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन हमने लिया है, मैनेजरियल इकोनॉमिक्स इज द इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ इकोनॉमिक थ्योरी विद बिजनेस प्रैक्टिस फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ फैसिलिटेटिंग डिसीजन मेकिंग एंड फॉरवर्ड प्लानिंग बाय मैनेजमेंट। एक्सप्लेन। नाउ as far as this statement is concerned, this itself the definition of economic managerial economics, it is not economics, rather ये applied फॉर्म में है। मैनेजरियल इकोनॉमिक्स अप्लाइड इकोनॉमिक्स है। इसको हम कैसे एक्सप्लेन करते हैं, कैसे इकोनॉमिक थ्योरी या बिजनेस प्रैक्टिस साथ में मिलकर के हम कैसे कहेंगे कि मैनेजरियल इकोनॉमिक्स हो जाता है। सो दिस इज बेसिकली the integration of economic theory and business practice for the purpose of facilitating decision making and forward planning. Managerial economics, as stated in the question, as I said, has been generally defined as the study of economic theories, logic, and tools of economic analysis used in the process of business decision making. जैसा कि आपने डिटेल में पढ़ाया गया होगा आपको या पढ़ा होगा, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ थ्योरीज और टूल्स, हम दोनों को मिक्स करके और हम किसी भी पर्टिकुलर इंडस्ट्रियल और बिजनेस डिसीजन, मैनेजरियल डिसीजन को एनालाइज करते हैं और ये हेल्प करता है। इट इन्वॉल्व द अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड यूज ऑफ इकोनॉमिक थ्योरीज एंड टेक्निक्स ऑफ इकोनॉमिक एनालिसिस इन एनालाइजिंग एंड सॉल्विंग बिजनेस problems or industrial problems or managerial problems as stated in it. Now let us try to understand what is the difference or gap between theory and practice. It is a general knowledge that there exists a gap between theory and practice in the world of economic thinking and behavior. By implication, a theory which appears logically sound might not be directly applicable in practice. इसके कुछ अपने रीजन हैं। जैसे कहा जाता है इकोनॉमिक लॉज कैन नॉट बी tested in a controlled experiment. Economic laws are less universal. Economic laws have poor predictability. They are statement of tendencies. तो ऐसे कुछ पॉइंट्स हैं जो कि प्रूव करते हैं। जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल, when there are economies of scale, it seems, economies of scale का आप मतलब समझ रहे होंगे, that is economizing the things, it's all wasting, reducing the waste. It all depends upon that your skill, your experience in doing a particular thing. So it seems theoretically sound that when inputs are doubled, output will be more or less doubled, and when inputs are tripled, output would be more or less tripled. This is theoretically okay. Conclusion may not hold in practice, as over a field of 1 hectare land, the use of seed and fertilizer is limited. Economic theories are highly simplistic because they are propounded on the basis of economic models based on simplifying assumptions. Through economic models, Economists create a simplified world with its restrictive boundaries from which they derive their conclusions. Although economic models are said to be an extraction from the real world, the closeness of this extraction depends on how realistic the assumptions of the models are. It is a general belief that assumptions of economic models are unrealistic in most cases. The most common assumption of the economic models, as you may recall, is the ceteris paribus assumption. Ceteris paribus का मतलब अदर थिंग्स बीइंग इक्वल. हम हर एक इकोनॉमिक लॉ में, हर एक इकोनॉमिक मॉडल में कुछ एजम्पन्स मान लेते हैं कि कुछ फैक्टर्स किसी भी, जैसे लॉ ऑफ डिमांड है. अब लॉ ऑफ डिमांड में हम अदर जितने डिमांड के फैक्टर्स हैं उनको हम एज्यूम कर लेते हैं कि वो चेंज नहीं हो रहे हैं या वो कांस्टेंट है. So this assumption actually has been alleged to be most unrealistic assumption, but that's how it works. It goes like, though economic theories are no doubt hypothetical in nature, in their abstract form, however, they do look divorced from reality. Abstract economic theories cannot be simply applied to real life situations. This, however, does not mean that economic models and theories do not serve useful purposes. Microeconomic theory, for example, facilitates the understanding of what would be a complicated confusion of billions of facts by constructing simplified models of behavior that are sufficiently similar to the actual phenomenon to be of help in understanding them. It cannot nevertheless be denied the fact that there is a gap between economic theory and practice. The gap arises from the fact that there exists a gap between the abstract world of economic models and the real world. That's how there is a gap. So इस तरीके से हम theory और practice में gap को समझ सकते हैं. It suffices to say that although economic theories do not directly offer custom-made solutions to the business problems, they provide a framework for logical economic thinking and analysis. Keep this in mind. The need for such a framework arises because the real economic world is too complex to permit consideration of every bit of economic facts that influence economic decisions. Economic analysis presents the business decision makers with a roadmap. It guides them to their destinations and does not take them to their destinations. So it really provides a guide. After all, one has to analyze the business or economic problems in the within the given constraints and the situations. So अगर इतना आंसर आप लिखते हैं तो इस क्वेश्चन के लिए ये सफिशिएंट होगा that managerial economics is the integration of economic theory and business practice for the purpose of taking business decisions and forward planning. Now, managerial economics can bridge the gap between economic theory and real business decision. The managerial economic logic and tools of analysis guide business decisions makers in, यहाँ से हम और समझ सकते हैं, identifying their problems in the achievement. 2. Collecting the relevant data and related facts. 3. Processing and analyzing the facts. 4. Drawing the relevant conclusions. 5. Determining and evaluating the alternative means of achieving the goal, and then finally taking a decision. So इतना पर्याप्त होगा अगर आप एग्जाम में लिखेंगे. Now, what do you understand by economics? जैसे ये क्वेश्चन आता है इससे रिलेटेड या इससे और इसमें नेचर ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स उसको हमने अलग से डील किया है. जब भी इकोनॉमिक डेफिनेशन की बात आए हम ये जरूर सलाह देंगे आपको कि एक या दो डेफिनेशन ना लिख करके, बल्कि जो इकोनॉमिक इवोल्यूशन ऑफ डेफिनेशंस आई हैं उनको सबको हमें यहाँ पर लिखना पड़ेगा. लाइक इकोनॉमिक्स एज ए स्टडी ऑफ वेल्थ बाय एडम स्मिथ, or economics as a study of welfare by Alfred Marshall, or economics as a study of the problems arising out of scarce means of resources. Here, the word economics has been taken from a Greek word oikonomia, which means household management. It implies that economics is that domain of knowledge which is concerned with the management of wants by households. As जैसा कि हमने बताया, there are various definitions evolved over a period of time, all those can be put into three categories, three heads. One, economics as a study of wealth by Adam Smith. An inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nation, published in 1776 by Adam Smith. वहाँ पर ये इकोनॉमिक्स डिफाइन करते हैं as the study of the nature and causes of the generation of wealth of a nation. According to Adam Smith, goods have both values in use, that is utility, and value in exchange, that is price. Adam Smith defined wealth as all those goods which command value in exchange. He argued that the large amount of wealth and the betterment of the whole society could be achieved by an efficient allocation of resources through a market mechanism, but his definition has been criticized on the following grounds. Adam Smith laid all emphasis on wealth but ignored man and his welfare. He gave restricted meaning of wealth as he included in wealth only material goods like, and not the services like those of doctors or soldiers, etc. He presupposed the existence of an economic man who has to satisfy his own interest, having no social interest. Now, economics as a science of material welfare by Alfred Marshall. उन्होंने या इनकी टीम ने उनकी डेफिनेशंस को क्रिटिसाइज किया. अब यहाँ पर अल्फ्रेड मार्शल ने अपनी डेफिनेशन दी. The science of wealth. In fact, like Adam Smith, prior to him, J.S. Mill defined economics as the science of wealth, but this definition was widely criticized as it gave too much emphasis to wealth and too little to humans, to remove the taint of gross materialism from the definition of economics. Alfred Marshall evolved a better definition which shifted the emphasis from the study of wealth to welfare of man, and that was really important. क्योंकि जो वेल्थ जनरेटर्स हैं, अगर वो यूटिलाइज ना कर पाएँ, यानी उनकी वेलफेयर की बात ना हो, तो शायद वेल्थ हम कब तक जनरेट करते रहें. So as per Alfred Marshall, economics is a study of man's action in the ordinary business of life or course of life. It inquires how he gets his income and how he spends it. According to Alfred Marshall, thus it is on the one hand a study of wealth, and on the other hand, more important side, a part of the study of man. According to Marshall's definition, economics can be expressed as follows. First, economics is a study of man. Second, economics is concerned only with those activities of man which are related to the acquisition and enjoyment of wealth. This Marshallian definition is certainly an important upon the problem of scarce resources, which is the fundamental problem of a modern economy. Now, Robbins criticized Marshall's definitions on the following grounds. Marshall's view of economics is narrow and unscientific. Material welfare, which cannot be measured by any scale, cannot be accepted as end of economics. Economics is not a social science but a human science. Economics as a science of allocation of scarce resources. As per Robbins, economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which could have their alternative uses. According to Robbins, an essay on the nature and significance of economic science published in 1932, instead of discussing a certain type of human behavior, it focused its attention on a particular aspect of behavior, that is behavior concerned with the utilization of scarce resources to achieve unlimited ends. Now, come to question number 3, that is describe the nature of managerial economics. As earlier I spoke, जब भी हम किसी इकोनॉमिक्स या ऐसे किसी भी विषय वस्तु के नेचर की हम बात करते हैं, तो नॉर्मली हम दो तरीके से इसके नेचर को समझ सकते हैं, whether it is a science or an art. Now, economics as a science. Economics is to be regarded as science. It's, in simple words, science is a systematized body of knowledge about a particular branch of the universe and which contains concepts, theories, and principles which are based on cause and effect relationship and are universal in nature. It studies the branch systematically and orderly. Just by this standard, economics is undoable a science because it is a systematized body of knowledge about economic activities. Now, economics as an art is completely different from science. In the words of Kosa, a science teaches us to know, whereas art teaches us to do. In simple words, science explains and expands, art directs, imposes purposes or rules. Science is theoretical and art is practical. We can say economics is an art. Its several branches like consumption, production, and public finance provide practical guidance to solve economic problems. For example, the theory of consumption guides the consumer to obtain maximum satisfaction with his given income. To sum up, economics is both a science as well as an art. Science requires art and art requires science. Each is complementary to other. Economics as a positive and normative science. There are two types of science, normative and positive. Positive science studies what is being done. Normative science studies what should be done. From this viewpoint, it can be concluded that managerial economics is normative science because it suggests what should be done under particular circumstance. It determines the goals of the enterprise and then develops the way to achieve these goals. Now, question number 4. Economics as a study of welfare. Comment on the statement. Now, this, as we know, we discussed earlier that it is the welfare statement, the science of wealth, but that this definition was widely criticized. It has been covered actually earlier. Alfred Marshall evolved a better definition which shifted the emphasis from the study of wealth to welfare. Economics as a study of man's action in the ordinary course of life. It inquires how he gets his income and how he spends it. So this question has been partially covered in the previous one. इसीलिए हमने शुरू में कहा था कुछ क्वेश्चंस हमने इसको अलग से इसलिए लिया कि कोई क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था आपके प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन पेपर्स में, इसलिए हमने इसको अलग से किया. आंसर्स ऑलमोस्ट उसके वही हैं जो हमने पहले कवर किए हैं. अब इस पर हम ज़्यादा समय नहीं लगाएंगे, हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now, what do you mean by the concept of production? Define production function. So, what is production? Production is just putting utility into. That is the creation of value or wealth by producing goods and services. Production is the transformation of inputs into the output of a commodity in a specific period of time with a given technology. An input is a good or service that goes into the process of production. Production process requires a number of different types of inputs. These inputs are called factors of production also. So, production is the process of putting into the product. Inputs are what a firm buys. Inputs are what a firm buys. Here it is written wrongly. And outputs are what a firm sells. Now, here typically this is the production process. Input means factors of production. Processing, that is activity performed by the employees and machines, and output goods and services which we get. तो typically हम एक graphically ऐसे production process को भी हम इस तरीके से भी लिख सकते हैं. The production function is a tool of analysis used in explaining the input-output relationship. It describes the technical relationship between inputs and output in physical terms. In its general form, it holds that production of a given commodity depends on a certain specific input. In its specific form, it presents the quantitative relationships between inputs and outputs. A production function may take the form of a schedule, a graph line, or a curve, an algebraic equation, or a mathematical model even. The production function represents the technology of a firm. An empirical production function is generally so complex to include a wide range of inputs: land, labor, capital, raw materials, time, technology. These variables form the independent variable in a firm's actual production function. A firm's long-run production function is of the form like Q is equal to, say, function of land, labor, capital, material, time, etc. Here, the way it is written, you can just give the notations. Now, for sake of convenience, Economists have reduced the number of variables used in a production function to only two: capital and labor. Therefore, in the analysis of input-output relations, the production function is expressed normally as Q is equal to F is a function of capital and labor. Equation 2 represents the algebraic or mathematical form of the production function. Now, nature and characteristics of production function. Production function establishes a relationship between physical quantities of output and inputs. Determination of production function is an engineering problem and not an economic problem. Production function should be considered with a given state of technology. Change in inputs is essential to change a production function. Production function differs from firm to firm because of the type of technology, type of product, and the extent of availability of different resources. So this was all about this particular video tutorial, जहाँ पर हमने 5 क्वेश्चंस इकोनॉमिक मैनेजरियल इकोनॉमिक्स के डिस्कस किए हैं। हमें यकीन है कि आपको ये पक्का समझ में आया होगा और इसके आधार पर आप आंसर इसके यूनिवर्सिटी एग्जामिनेशन में अगर ये क्वेश्चंस आते हैं तो ज़रूर लिख सकते हैं। यहाँ पर जैसा कि हमने कहा टॉपिक के हिसाब से हमने क्वेश्चंस और एग्जामिनेशन व्यू पॉइंट से लिए हैं। आई होप दैट यू हैव लाइक्ड इट, एंड इफ यू हैव लाइक्ड इट प्लीज डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू सब्सक्राइब माय यूट्यूब चैनल आर क्लासेस and press the bell button and pass it on to others, those who are needy now and in the future. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Best of luck.